Save 15% off your order through Safari site using my exclusive coupon code DINOSCREAM. Link is in the description of this video. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Safari Limited review. Today we're taking a look at their armored Triceratops. This is a pretty interesting release from Safari. This figure is part of their Mythical Creatures lineup, and if you go on their site, that line is pretty robust, so it's just a matter of time before fancy versions of dinosaurs made an appearance in that lineup. Now, obviously, this figure is not geared to the scientifically accurate collectors, but if you're into fancy stuff like dragons and monsters, this figure would easily fit into those types of collections. So let's pop this thing up on the turntable and take a closer look at this armored beauty. So let's start with a 360-degree view of this armored Triceratops. This is actually a really cool figure. It's well sculpted. The paint apps are really nice on it, and I just love all the detail on the armor. The main body is a light brown color, highlighted by these dark chocolate brown markings on the heads inside of the body. And that armor on the figure is beautifully sculpted, and it just has this beautiful silver paint over it with some nice weathering effects to give it a much more lifelike look. And for a Triceratops figure, it's not really that bad. You know, I'm not going to pick this figure apart for accuracy because it is not meant to be accurate in the slightest, but I kind of like this thing. I think it's a pretty cool looking figure, and I just love the Dinotopia vibes it's given off, and I just really like the way the armor looks, especially that mace at the end of the tail. That is a really, really cool and creative touch. And let's just do a couple quick measurements. This figure is 8 inches long from the tip of the beak to the tip of that mace on the tail, and just about 3 inches tall to the top of the horns. So Triceratops in real life was around 30 feet long, so with those measurements, that put this figure exactly on that 145 scale range. So let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with the head sculpt. I just have to say one thing. My copy, at least, is immaculately painted. There is no sloppy paint on this figure whatsoever. The nose horn and brown horns and beak are painted in a bone white color. You have some nice texturing along the brow and nose horns right here. The horns are tipped with an armor covering, and you have a little bit of copper paint dry brush on there to give it that weathered look. And then going down to the mouth, the tongue is painted red with a gloss coat over it to give it that lifelike look. The eye is painted straight black, which kind of reminds me of a Collect-A figure, but there is a gloss coat on the eye and nostril to give it that wet look. I think that is a really nice touch. You can see some beautiful scale detail all over this figure from head to toe. There's just some really nice scale definition on this figure. The knobs on the frill are all picked out in white paint. And then going down to the main body, you can see a lot of nice folds and wrinkles and muscle definition on the limbs. You got some armor plating along the shoulders of the forelimbs right here, with some little rivets and more of that weathering effect, which looks really cool. And then going down to the front feet, you can see those are horribly inaccurate feet for a Ceratopsian. But like I said, I'm not going to criticize this figure for accuracy because it is not meant to be accurate. Then going down to the hind feet, you can see the claws are painted in that light brown paint, and then turn the figure over, the underside is painted a cream color. You get some nice scale detail even on the bottom of the feet. And then going to the back of the animal, you can get a nice look of that armor plating, which looks absolutely beautiful. Love all the rivets and details on here and these nice armored knobs on the top. You got more of that really nice looking weathering effect. And then going down to the tail, I love the tail on this thing. I just love the inclusion of that mace, you know, very ankylosaur looking, and I just think it looks really cool. You got some nice spikes coming out right here and more of that weathering effect with some rivets, and then you have a leather strap holding this on to the tail. So yeah, all in all, a really cool looking figure. And I will say one thing about the paint on this figure: it seems to be a much more durable and tougher paint than Safari uses on their mainline dinosaurs. And just the paint job is a lot better on here. I know a lot of people get their Safari figures in, and you know there's some sloppy paint because these figures are hand painted. You have to keep that in mind, you know, especially with their theropod figures. You get some, you know, a little bit of white paint on the lips and stuff from them painting the teeth. But I have to say, this figure is just probably one of the nicest painted Safari figures I've ever gotten. And like I said, this paint seems to be much more durable than the paints they use on the main dinosaur line. So I'd like to see, you know, some of these painting techniques carry over to the main line, just so our figures don't get scuffed up so easily. So let's move on with some comparisons. Here it is with some Triceratops figures from Safari Limited. Here it is with their excellent and beautiful 2017 Triceratops. And here it is with their older version of Triceratops. I feel like this new Mythical one shares a lot of sculpting similarities to this older version right here, especially with the frill and sculpts of the hands and feet. And here it is with a couple other Triceratops figures from other companies. Here it is with the awesome looking Eofauna Triceratops. And here it is with the beautiful and articulated beast of the Mesozoic Triceratops. And here it is with a couple figures that released in the main dinosaur line. Here it is with the Daspletosaurus. And here it is with the Baryonyx. And we can't do Triceratops comparisons without comparing it to Tyrannosaurus Rex. Here it is with the excellent Safari Limited Feather T-Rex. Every time I bring this figure out, I always say is one of the best products Safari has ever released. And for another Rex comparison, here it is with the new PNSO Wilson, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And lastly, here it is with the Armored T-Rex, which released alongside this Triceratops. And these two figures do look really nice next to each other, obviously because they're released together. They're meant to be displayed with each other. And I love the synergy of the armor placement between these two figures. If you look at the Triceratops, the back and the flanks of the limbs are protected, which would help greatly if it was facing a Tyrannosaurus Rex. These parts would be protected from the T-Rex trying to bite on these exposed portions. And if you look at the armor placement on the T-Rex, the legs and the underside are protected to help it against fighting this armor Triceratops. So I really like how the well thought out placement of the armor is on these two figures. I think that is a cool touch. So final thoughts on this armor Triceratops. I have to say I am digging this figure way more than I thought I would. It's just a cool looking figure in my opinion. You know, if you collect accurate dinosaurs, you don't even need to consider adding it to your collection. But if you're into fancy stuff, this is a great piece to add. I have no complaints about this figure other than one, and it's just a personal opinion of mine. This figure retails for $25, and I just feel like that's a little bit expensive for the size of this figure, especially when you compare it to similarly priced figures in the Safari lineup. Like, take, for example, the Camarasaurus. That figure retails for just under $20, and it's 2.5 times the size of this Triceratops. But I'm sure there's an explanation why this figure costs so much. Maybe it's different materials and a higher quality paint that drives up the cost. But shameless plug incoming. If you want to help save some money off that $25 price point, use my exclusive coupon code DinoScreen to save 15% off your order. I'll leave a link in the description to Safari's site, and you can use that coupon code anytime to save 15%. So that will do it for the review. I only have 2 more Safari figures to review, this Armored T-Rex and their new Spinosaurus. So be on the lookout for those reviews in the next week or two. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.